So we have 6 on agenda item comments. We'll start with Paul Hannish.
Well, first of all, I'd like to commend the board for addressing the issue of grooming in the school district. And I'd like to specifically speak to section 6 and 7. Joseph, can you bring me my paper? And what I'd like to know is what will the consequences be for violating this policy? And I'll read the specific items, 6 and 7. Engaging in any behaviors or discussions, either directly or indirectly, with students or in the presence of a student, that are unprofessional, inappropriate, personal, unethical, illegal, immoral, or exploitative. And section 7 talks about making statements or comments, either directly or in the presence of a student, which are not age appropriate, professional, or which may be considered sexual in nature, harassing, discriminating, or demeaning. So, what are the consequences if a staff member violates one of these policies? Has the board discussed this? And so once this passes, and I hope it does pass today, what will the libraries, the school libraries, will they be in immediate violation of this for housing materials that are in direct violation of this clear language? It should be understood that any behaviors, and legal may clarify that, any behaviors would include exposing children to lurid books of a sexual nature. Knowingly exposing minors to sexually explicit material is a crime. Will librarians be put on notice that the books with graphic sexual material will now need to be removed forthwith? There should be no question as to the inappropriate nature of these materials, which have been read here at these board meetings. And these materials would have made my Babylonian ancestors, who are known to have originated the debauched fertility cults, blush. So I will yield my time for an answer from the superintendent or board members or legal counsel. What will the consequences be for violating this? And are we currently in violation of section 6 and 7?
Will you please explain how we address investigations when violations are brought forward in a very broad sense, please?
Sure, we're addressing an item on the agenda here. This is 8A. What's the 60%? It's the policy development 8A for maintaining appropriate adult-student interactions. This is a policy that's been reviewed with our associations, both CSCA and ODA, as well as gone through legal, and we've also looked at outside districts for language to help guide with board approval of policies that will direct employees' behaviors. This is really geared for helping define what we have for appropriate employee actions. When an employee violates a board policy, we follow contract language, which includes due process. It includes an investigation that is thorough. And with that, we follow, most importantly, Ed Code. Ed Code has very specific provisions that we follow when it comes to types of discipline. Every case is different. This is a hypothetical question, but in cases where employees are found guilty of this, they can lead to a variety of disciplinary action, up to and including dismissal and a review with CTE for credential revoke. So it really is a broad question, but it's one that's very defined in HR policy and one that Ed Code explicitly has a due process defined as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next speaker, Joseph Kander. Item 8A. Joseph, item 5A has been pulled from the agenda.
I'm not surprised that 5A was removed from the agenda, because clearly you all are trying to take away our freedom of speech. And I want you all to know that you will have to answer to God for trying to do that. I want you all to understand that you guys are in a very serious position. You guys have been voted in to help the students, and we as members of the public, including myself and my fellow believers in Jesus Christ as our Savior, we do want you guys to understand that you have to answer to God. I don't have to answer for you, but I just want you to know that you don't need to take that lightly, and you need to consider, at least reconsider, what happened at the last meeting. I do want to take a minute to address, even though it has been pulled from the agenda, that at the last meeting, Ms. Beacon over here, our VP of the board, decided to admit, and literally was caught in the act of admitting that you guys do not want to address people who have a disagreement with your agenda. And yes, it is an agenda whether you choose to admit it or not. And we are going to continue to fight, and we are going to continue to stand on truth. So moving on, item 8 is something I never thought I would actually see on this agenda with this board. It's actually very important that we need to make sure that student and staff interactions are taken seriously. We definitely need to make sure that interactions between students and staff remain professional and that they remain appropriate. And there should not be talks or conversations held about gender, immoral, or inappropriate content between adults and young children, and Mr. Hanisch has already addressed the importance of that within the library system. Immoral and sexual conversations should never happen outside of interactions between children and their own parents. I think it's important that students and staff focus on why they are in a school environment. The adults are there to teach and support the kids, while the kids are there to build friendships, learn, and gain knowledge and wisdom to prepare themselves for a very bright future in a very competitive and difficult world. I encourage that this item 8A should be passed to hold the staff in this district accountable to interacting correctly with the students moving forward and to keep their personal and inappropriate agendas to themselves while performing their duties to provide the children a great educational experience.
Next speaker, Beth Baum, item 8A.
Trustees and Superintendent Vitale. I am as well speaking on 8A, items 6 and 7, so I'm not going to repeat what the two previous speakers spoke about. My concern is with the library, I did the proper submitting to the school board, the district. You have a committee that looks at books. I submitted one called Fun Home. I was going to distribute the pictures of a woman going down on a woman, but there are minors here. I got the letter back, and it says that the committee followed the Miller test, which is Miller versus California, which has to do with pornography, etc., which has to do with adult pornography. They use that test to guide them in deciding whether or not this book stays on campus at the high schools, and it stays. So how is that possible? And you're not allowed to look at this book again for 12 months. So not until June of next
Yeah,
year.
we're going to go back to agenda that we're staying on agendized items. So you're talking about 8A, and so you're talking about a specific item specifically at this point?
It is making statements or comments either directly in the presence of students. So if a student picks up a book, which actually happened at one of your schools and the parent isn't here tonight, to go pick up a book, and he brought it home, and it had to do with a man raping a boy, and he said, "Mom, what is this?"
But 8A is not about library books.
It is about the teacher talking to the child about a book that they picked up in your library. I am all for the book being in the public library where the student, did you cut me off?
No.
Where the student is with the parents. I have no problem with that. In fact, I actually enjoyed the book Fun Home. I would take out the pictures of the porn. If I distributed this now, I would be violating the law. I applaud you for implementing this policy, but I think you really need to now look at the books that are in your library. And I have more to submit. Thank you.
Next Here's Todd Madison, item 7A and 8A.
All right, thank you. So limiting the time we're so graciously allowed to speak to 3 minutes for the entire agenda is the clearest way a board who doesn't care about parents and kids can say, we don't care about parents and kids. The words that periodically come out of your mouths claiming to value parent feedback are apparently lies. Coincidentally, the district has now stopped live streaming meetings when you don't want parents to know what's happening with the education of your kids.
Are we back to agenda 7A and 8A, correct? We're speaking on those items currently, right?
We will do that.
Okay, that's what you're supposed to be speaking on in 3 minutes
Yes.
for 8A and 7A, sir.
Item 5A is not on the agenda apparently anymore, but it's.
You asked for 7A and 8A. Please speak on those two.
I asked for 5A as well.
5A has been pulled.
Yes. So during item 7C last meeting, Mike made a motion to move non-agenda comments to the beginning of meetings. Thanks for that. But after being seconded, it was totally ignored without a vote or any mention in the minutes. Fortunately, we have an audio recording posted on the Parent Association Facebook page. It's all there if you'd like to hear it. That's why we're recording this meeting. So I'm sure the community would have more to say about this, but it's impossible to say much in the few seconds we're so graciously allowed. Given the board's disdain for parent input, I will move on. Item 7A, unaudited actuals. We spent $281 million on education last year, but actual academic performance got worse. That's what the facts say. Those are facts. I'm sure the community would have more to say about this, but it's impossible to say much in a few seconds that we're so graciously allowed. Given the board's disdain for parent input, I'll move on. Item 7C, issuing $50 million in bonds. That may be chump change to our financially incompetent board, but a pretty significant expense to the rest of us. I'm sure the community would have more to say about this, but it's impossible to say much in the
Okay,
few
so I'm going to ask you one more time, 7A and 8A.
I said pull 7C too, didn't I? No? Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll move on to item 8A. Maintaining appropriate adult-student interaction. Here's where we do what Mike doesn't want to hear, speaking out on an issue parents have consistently spoken out on at many meetings, not because they want to, but because the district continues to ignore parents and do whatever they want anyway. Paragraph 3 says adults are not to intrude into students' emotional boundaries. That sounds like a great policy. People here have supported it. I do too. Most children figure out whether they're boys or girls when mommy potty trains them. Is implying that mommy lied to them, not crossing their emotional boundaries? I'm sure the community would have more to say about this, but it's impossible to say much in the few seconds we're so graciously allowed. Given the board's disdain for parent input, I will move on. So I hope you had a good party after the last meeting, celebrating the fact that you no longer have to listen to anyone. When are you going to propose legislation that simply gets rid of the Brown Act entirely so you can lock the doors and not have to deal with the public at all? Thank you.
Victoria Mariani, item 8A.
The revisions on this agenda item were done very well. I just have a small concern about number 8. Quote, maintaining personal contact with a student that has no legitimate educational purpose by phone, letter, electronic communications, or other means without including the student's parent, guardian, or the principal. I have had many students who email me from time to time to ask how I'm doing or to share with me how they're doing. These communications are through district email, but they don't necessarily have a specific educational purpose. They are friendly and appropriate communications that occur based on relationships that I've built with students over the years. They are not CC'd to the student's parents or to the principal, but they are definitely available for district leadership or my principal to review if needed. My point is that we are seeking outreach about the importance of social-emotional health and community schools, and then expect teachers to sever relationships with students immediately upon them leaving our classrooms at the end of the year. I wholeheartedly agree in keeping students safe, and I believe that teachers are responsible for maintaining appropriate relationships with students, whether they are current students or past students. But let's think about what we are saying here. Let's not throw away the baby with the bathwater. Instead, we should remain vigilant in reminding teachers to always keep students' best interests at heart and remain professional in their interactions with all students, past and present.
Next speaker, Scott Boston, Item 8A.
Okay, pick it up, can you hear me? All right, good evening. My name is Scott Boston. I am an Oceanside resident, a business owner, and I'm the father of two boys, ages 11 and 6. One of them goes right here to Chavez Middle School, and the other goes to Libby Elementary. When my oldest was 6 and went to Libby, they sent home a paper telling us that they were going to teach my son where the anus and vulva were located. Luckily, us and other parents got together to stop the abuse and sexualization of my 6-year-old son and other children. This is my oldest son's first year at Chavez. And on the very first day, when a child is at his or her most vulnerable moments, one of his teacher's first words were her name, that she was non-binary, and what that meant. They then had to go around the class, say their names, and what their preferred pronouns were. My son was uncomfortable with the situation, and he texted me to come pick him up immediately. When we learned of this teacher's behavior, we were appalled and instructed our son to tough it out the next day because maybe things would be different. We were wrong. Over the coming days, this teacher would show slides of anti-racism, transphobia, and the like. She would end each class by having them stand in a circle and say their names and pronouns. And this is just the first 4 days of school. The school tried to blow this off as a getting to know you period, and reluctantly changed my son's class after a meeting with us where they tried to convince us that this situation was okay. As a parent, I feel that teachers' sexual preference has nothing to do with my son learning things like history. I also feel that sexual preference is between my son and his parents and not other adults. Not so long ago, this type of actions were considered a crime against children. So please explain to me why they are okay now. I was never asked if I agreed with any of these practices or behaviors. There needs to be uniform change across the board concerning these practices. And y'all are creating more protective parents. And the only way for us to protect our children from your abuse is to come out to your jobs.
We have 11 comments. First 3 speakers will be Mark Hall, Joseph Cantor, and Beth Barnes. In that order, please.
Good evening to the board. My name is Mark Anthony Hall. I'm the Executive Director of Manhood Agency. Board President Alvarez, to the board, Superintendent Vitale, to your crew. I've been on a 20 board meeting tour since June 16th. The goal is to come out and to meet you. I have to tell you all, I confess, I Googled all of you. I know you do computers, I read your bios, but this is my chance to see you face to face and say hello to you. Again, I'm with Oscar Van Way, who's our Director of Community Development, and our program is called the Manhood Adolescent Behavior Challenge. I like to tell everybody there was an epidemic before there was a pandemic. The epidemic is there's a lot of young men who don't have what my mother would call home training. And a lot of the training they're getting is in the street. And the problem with that is that they bring it to school, and let me just say I'm a big fan of school teachers. They do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I respect them highly. We work with young men, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade that have social and emotional learning deficits. Add on to that, learning loss from COVID. If they would ever recover the learning, I do not know. And they also are dealing with what I call post-COVID anxiety. We have a 100-point curriculum. We deal with anger management, learning styles, how to live in a multicultural society, sibling rivalry. We have something called Man Up. What does it mean to be a man? So we basically supply what you may call a soft intervention. Our basic goal is to get the kid to like coming to school. Once he comes to school, we try to let the kid say, hey, you need to choose to behave yourself. We believe in age-appropriate behavior. A sixth grader anywhere in the world is a sixth grader. And then we believe in individual appropriate behavior is what the child brings from his home. And so that's the foundation we work on with non-discrimination. And so we come to schools and we present our program, and something wonderful happens. USD just did a case study on our program. Every boy that attended our program for a year, his grades went up 27%. The good news is that the discipline went down 85%. That means no calls to mama. Hard-working parents don't have to get off of work to deal with a kid who's acting up. He loves coming to school. And one thing we learned with the young men is that they do need men in their lives. They need to have man talk. I was fortunate I had two parents. They were married 64 years, and with two great parents, I was still a rascal. My favorite saying is that I used to be a boy. Boys, they're a little different from girls. Sometimes our frontal lobes are just made out of rubber. We just don't get it. But we believe that if the family holds on to the boy, the community holds on to the boy, the school holds on to the boy, he'll have a chance.
Thank you.
God, I can go on and on. I'm so excited to hear, but thank you all.
Thank you.
And if I may, I apologize for the superintendent and board president. This is unusual, saying in unified down. It feels very family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was great stuff. Thank you for speaking. First, I want to start today by bringing up the day that we just went through yesterday. As many of us know, yesterday was 22 years since the most tragic terrorist attack that took place in U.S. history. That was also the last time this country was truly united as one. This country now is more divided than it has ever been, and that has to change, and it starts with our schools, and it starts with the students in the schools. Personal agendas like sexualizing children should be taken out of schools so that kids can make their own decisions and allow their parents to do their jobs as parents in raising their children. Your job is not to raise kids, it is to teach them. Next, why are there no cameras here tonight? It's because you members of the board are scared. You are scared of the truth whether you choose to admit it or not. Just like the Midianites running confused in the book of Judges, running from Gideon and his army because though they were small in numbers, they were bold for God. By tally, you stand against God and his morals, and therefore you want to try and stop his truth from spreading. But I assure you, myself and my fellow believers in the room saved by Jesus Christ will continue to make sure that God's truth is spread, and since Vitali has taken office, God has been taken out of our schools. I have a family member, also a former student of this very district, and under your leadership, Vitali, he has gone on to become a sex addict, a drug addict, and now he lives with his girlfriend in an unmarried relationship. That is what happens when we lack godly leadership in our schools. In closing, I want to just share that I feel these kids need to be taught again what it means to come together as one, like we did 22 years ago today, without personal agendas. And that starts with fixing what is wrong with this district right now. And that is why I am here tonight, is to right what has been made wrong.
Good evening, Dr. Vitale and board. I was at the last meeting. It was quite exciting. Actually super giddy about it. Because I have been down the rabbit hole with what's going on in school boards across the nation. And no one has believed me about what the agenda is. And you showed your true colors. You don't want to talk to parents at all. That's why you got rid of the live stream. Most school districts live stream. Their AV department does it. Vista Unified does it. I'm sure they would help you out. What does that do? It involves parents that can't be here when you have two working parents and they've got little kids at home. You can bring them here, but it's not really appropriate all the time, and it's not easy with dinner and homework and then school the next day. Stacy, I mean, you said it. You have the right. We can choose to see you or not to see you. Mike, you guys bring up the three things all the time, same old three things. The one that I have brought up, and I have done it properly, didn't work. And Gibbons, I saw you verbally assault a citizen here.
Okay, we're not going to be picking on people, so we're here for your public comment to address the board.
Okay. So I emailed the El Camino principal last year in regards to ECTV because of the book Fun Home and how it was portrayed in their newscast. That it was a great book, and us book banning parents were up here banning books. I like half the books that they said we wanted to ban. I asked the principal to give me a call back so that they could get our side. I spoke to Dr. Jordy Sparks. I haven't received any information since. I called and emailed again, and the secretary of the principal said that they talked to you, and the subject was over. So you want one side, you don't want to talk to parents. I have spoken to many parents outside of this wall. That's why I pulled my child out of school and we homeschooled him. I'm not going to have CRT pushed down, disrespecting the flag, which, what are you doing for Constitution Day? Do you know when Constitution Day is? Because of that is why we are here today. So Sunday is Constitution Day. You should be celebrating Constitution Day on the following day, Monday, in every school in OU County. You raise the LGBT flag. It is the right thing to do in the United States of America. Thank you.
Madison, Peter McBride, and Michael Richardson.
All right, thank you very much. So at the last meeting, the district took one of the most authoritarian steps I've ever seen in any district, cutting off the ability of parents to provide meaningful input to the district. In the Coast News, their communication director says the change honors requests from the public to move public comment to the beginning of the meetings. You may not be aware of this, but I watch these meetings. No one has ever asked to move on-agenda comment to the beginning of the meetings. Saying that to justify the suppression of parents is an out-and-out lie. Mr. Benz is paid almost $170,000 a year to lie for the district, so I trust it doesn't bother him that much. Prior to the last meeting, a request was made to put an item on the agenda discussing moving non-agenda comment to the beginning of meetings. I can see where that might be confusing to someone who doesn't understand how board meetings work. The superintendent's response was, this was already going to be on the agenda. Another lie, nothing like that was on the agenda. This lie by someone who takes over $350,000 a year from the education of our kids to provide a mediocre education and lies to us as well. During discussion, Stacy noted no one speaks at public hearings as justification. I think we've been at the same meetings, but she apparently missed the hours of on-agenda comments. Then we heard that limiting comments somehow benefits the public. That's not a joke, really. This is from someone who has told us how often she values public input. More lies. Mike actually forgot the public input suppression agenda for a minute and made a motion to move non-agenda comments to the beginning of meetings. Thank you for that. It was seconded, then vanished without a vote. Clear violation of the rules, but our district and board don't really care. And I'm sure they'd lie about it if we didn't have a recording. For anyone interested, that recording is available on the Facebook Parent Association group, where we'll be posting future meeting recordings. You can email me, info@sanDiegoSchools.net. We're recording over there with a 7-year-old Android phone and a garage sale tripod. I'm sure the superintendent doesn't want to interfere with the $15,000 a year raise she recently gave herself, so I'd be happy to donate the setups if you can't afford it. No restrictions have been placed on union speech. The speech we heard this morning or earlier today was 5.5 minutes. Only parent speech. It's once again clear what our board values, and it's not the interests of parents and kids. The last few years have seen a tremendous decline in enrollment. The parents of Oceanside have figured out you're not providing the education they want, and you don't want to listen to suggestions from them, and you certainly don't want parents to see what you're doing. You're forcing parents to pull their kids. They have no other options. I'll be discussing that at tomorrow's city council meeting because it's important to the city as well. Good work by parents who understand the importance of kids' education. Too bad our school district is in denial. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Peter McBride. I'm impressed. I'm from Los Angeles originally, did most of my teaching up there. I'm used to a school board that doesn't even look at you when you're talking. Wonderful to see this. I retired after 30 years of teaching and working as a private school administrator. And I have 2 credentials and my master's degree. I'm a Vietnam veteran, author of a nonfiction young adult book, Dropping In on the Waves of Life, which is lessons in life from a surface perspective. I've been a substitute in Oceanside for 15 years now, and I substitute a few times a month. I get around all levels as far as teaching goes. By high school, what I'm seeing is when the pledge comes up, when it's time for the pledge, most classes just sit there. Nobody says it. They just sit there and watch. Most, it's not all, but most are doing that. And I'll ask the question, why do we say the pledge? And most of the times, nobody can tell me. And if I turn to a teacher and I say, why do we say the pledge? A lot of times, they really don't have much of an answer either. Everybody has a right not to say the pledge. That's part of the country. It's great. But I was talking to the principal the other day, and we did feel, hey, at least they could stand up out of respect. That would be great. But I think the real problem is our students don't know why we say the pledge. They just know we mechanically do it every day. Now, I offer my classes, when I see them, I talk about it. When I see this come up, and I say, look, there are a couple of reasons we can say the pledge. One is out of respect for the people who dedicated their lives so that you could be here today, and the people that are out there in the community protecting you, the police, your teachers, your parents, medical, all that. You do it out of respect. And another reason is it's a reminder in this world of giving anything to be sitting right where you are today. And they do anything to be there. And unless we work together, we're going to lose this. And so the pledge is a reminder that we need to work together, to be together, to keep that spirit together, to keep our country. So it's my hope that as a school district, we can do some reminders, get those out there, and let them know why they're saying the pledge. And I really believe that if our students know why, they'll be more apt to participate in the pledge and certainly appreciate this country of ours. Thank you.
We have been called haters by this education establishment, the homosexual community, the teachers union, and all those who feed at the trough of the schools. I want to clear this up right now. We're good. We're not haters. We just love our kids, and we are disgusted. We are disgusted with all of you for what you've done to our schools. Hate is a crime. Disgust is not a crime. At least, not yet. It is clear that you descend into name-calling because you have no defense for your callous and corrupt management of our schools. When will we hear constructive ideas from you on how we can restore quality education to our community? Do you really think that we come to these meetings month after month, year after year, just to spread hate? Do you really think that? Mike Blessing says he disagrees with us. I'm still waiting to hear what we disagree on. Do we disagree that you have carved out much of the reading, math, and civics? You just heard about how civics is failing. You've carved out the guts of our education to make time for silly and dangerous programs like DEI and ethnic studies. Do we disagree, Mike, that the plummeting test scores are a failure and need to be addressed? Do we disagree that you have committed the district to a wasteful and unnecessary multi-million-dollar headquarters building that will not improve education one bit, but will feed the ego of our superintendent? We do agree that there is hate in this room, but it is not coming from us.
Next, please, Tamara Savazio, Victoria Mariani, and Jennifer Escobar.
And will you just do me a favor, repeat her name, please? Repeat her name.
Tamara Savazio.
So, we get together during these times to talk about things that are wrong, things that are broken, things that can be fixed. Louder. I'm not here to do that tonight, although that time's very important, and it's important to do that. I'm here to give a joy. I'm here to give a gratefulness and a thankfulness. You have a school in Oceanside called Coastal Academy. It's a public charter school. And I want you to imagine a community where every child has the opportunity not just to learn, but to thrive. Where they're not bound by a one-size-fits-all approach, but they're nurtured to explore their fullest potential. This vision isn't just a dream, it's a reality. And it's a reality for countless families in Oceanside and North County, all thanks to Coastal Academy. See, I'm a proud mama, a proud parent of two amazing children, and they found their academic haven at Coastal Academy. And today I stand before you as a representative of countless parents that literally have had their families transformed by the programs that they are offering. 3 years ago, we embarked on our journey to join Coastal Academy, as many families went looking for other opportunities. And our experience has been nothing short of transformative. My daughter, an advanced learner who has flourished and embraced the diverse opportunities that the school has offered. And I have a son who has a very complicated medical history and severe special needs, and he's also just flourishing, and he's been empowered to thrive. In our journey, what became evident was that Coastal Academy is not merely a school, but it's a catalyst for change that's needed in our community. They're pioneering a culture where collaboration between educators and parents is transcending the norm. It's fostering an environment that emphasizes both academic and personal growth. The impact of Coastal Academy extends far beyond individual families like mine. And I just wanted you to know what a good job they're doing, and I want you to continue to recognize their good work. And I want you to encourage families to have the opportunities to make other choices as all of this is going on in our community, for us to have the option to meet our children's needs. We know them best. So I just ask for your continued support for Coastal Academy and other schools that are providing these opportunities to families that are looking for different choices. Thank you.
Hi, I'm here to inform the board about the less than ideal conditions of Pablo Talk School of the Arts. My air conditioner and that of my colleague Melissa Moore has been broken for at least 15 days now. Maintenance has been to our site several times and they tell me that the air is working, but the temperature in my classroom remains 82 degrees, even at 7:15 in the evening. These are less than ideal learning conditions that would be difficult for any students to excel in, but half of my kindergarten students in my class have special needs, and the heat really exacerbates their behavioral and academic challenges, and it makes both the children and adults irritable. It feels like we're in an underdeveloped nation, and I believe that this situation is unacceptable. In addition, our school is inundated with mosquitoes. My body is riddled with bites, and many of our staff and students have bites all over their arms, legs, and even their faces. My colleagues across the hall from me in rooms 10A and B have mice. These teachers are concerned about the health of students with the presence of mouse urine and feces in their rooms. Sadly, the district sanctions the use of glue traps, which in my opinion are cruel and inhumane. If mice need to be exterminated, then at the very least, OUSD should eliminate them in the most painless and humane way possible. The delays with construction and the lack of space at our school site have been difficult for staff and students, but we really are trying to be creative, flexible, and patient. This year, like last year, TK and kindergarten classrooms across the district are receiving an increased number of students with extreme behavioral challenges. Our ed specialists need more manpower. We don't need district leaders such as Vicki Gravely, Mandy Bell, or Dr. Lovey visiting our schools to watch us teach. Kudos to Board Member Alvarez for actually working with high-need students in TK and kindergarten during her visit to Palo Top. I hope that the other board members and district leaders can take a page from her book and actually get something done.
Good evening. I would have a proper introduction, but I'm limited to 3 minutes, so I will go ahead with my say on what my issues are. This week, I've made a lot of noise within the district, within the city council. My name is Jennifer Escobar. Some of you might have heard Ms. Escobar called, Ms. Escobar left a voicemail, Ms. Escobar emailed, and city council did reach out to the district on my behalf as well. My concern is this: we closed an elementary school and we moved those children, those students, to another school, Living Lake Elementary, but we did not properly staff or fund or give the resources for that school to take in those children. 111 students, I believe, is the number that went in, and continuously every day, more children are being enrolled into this school. The lunch lines are huge. At one point, they didn't have enough lunches for all the students to be provided. We have thought about this, and some students don't have the resources to eat at home, and this is their one lunch. And what happened? The district did nothing. When I called, it was said to me, we did not know. When I called city council, we were not made aware. And everywhere that I turned, that was the same answer. We don't know, we are not aware. Our biggest problem right now is for traffic control. You have 111 more families coming in for drop-off. My family car personally got hit. It was a hit and run on campus, in the parking lot, at the drop-off. And yet we do not have security for it to be managed. So what are we waiting for? For a child to be run over? For a tragedy to happen? For us to make headlines on the news and then say we could have done something then? Or for us to use the excuse of we did not know? I want to use this platform to personally let you guys know we have a problem. Now I know maybe my email got disregarded, my note got thrown away, or my phone call got deleted. But now I'm personally looking at each and every one of you in the eyes and letting you guys know there is a problem. We need help with traffic control. 111 additional students and no help has been given. We have our principal there with a vest and a stop sign helping. That's not her job, and it should not be her job. She's being put at risk. That parents are upset with the situation. Who do you think they're upset at? She's the face of the school, not you guys. You guys aren't there. She is. What are we waiting for? Road rage? For something to happen tragic? And now we have to explain to her family how the district failed her, the district failed her students, and failed the parents? Your salaries do come out of taxpayers' money, and we are all paying for it. I don't think it's a lot to ask for traffic control, for you guys to give somebody to have there and have us be safe. Students, teachers, staff, faculty, and let our principals go back to what their real job is, which is not traffic control. Thank you.
Our last two speakers, Allison Manu and Jacqueline Fisher.
Good evening, Allison Mino, mother of two in the district. Bringing a parental rights pledge to you by the Parent Union and California Policy Center. I'd like to let everyone know here and at home that Chino Valley, Marietta, Anderson Unified, Temecula Valley, Orange Unified, and Rockland Unified are all schools in California, school districts that have adopted parental rights notifications for parents to oversee, which is the fundamental right of parents to oversee the care, custody, and control of a child. I have that here, and I'll read a couple excerpts from it. And this parental rights pledge, for instance, Nancy Licona, being that she's my representative here, I, Nancy Licona, recognize that when a child is born, the family is the primary and responsible governing body for that child. The United States Supreme Court has repeatedly declared and confirmed that parents have the fundamental liberty and pre-political rights to direct the upbringing, care, and education of their children as they see fit. The government cannot abridge, suppress, restrict, or remove parental rights without due process of law. The same rights apply to legal guardians. I agree that school teachers and administrators should be open, honest, and transparent with parents regarding all policies, information, and concerns regarding their children. Parents must be notified if a condition exists that may affect their children's health, mental health, and or safety, including a change to their child's identity. I agree that parents should have access to their children's classroom curricula as well as academic, special, and alternative parent programs available to their children at school. That school curricula should be age-appropriate and free from political or ideological indoctrination, and that parents should have the ability to opt their children out of classroom assignments, curricula, and surveys that they deem inappropriate for their children. And so, I've only read just a couple of excerpts from this, but what do you guys think? I'm going to hand this pledge to you. And I won't hold my breath on it, but hey, give you guys a chance to look at it, and maybe one of you guys will sign it. Maybe at some point adopt a policy. What you guys think? Thank you.
I would like to state that just to clarify, those are not my words.
Oh, right, no, I didn't say your words, I said as my representative.
Okay, just want to clarify because it could be misleading for people that in the audience, just want to clarify that. And in addition, I don't know if anyone's following that, but all of those districts are currently in a lawsuit because they're violating California law.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Next speaker, please.
Lawyer. But anyway, I'll still hand it to you. Again, I won't hold my breath. What was that? Who just said that? Allison. No, this guy just said, I don't. He actually just said don't. Really? That's exactly what he just said. Little smirky guy over here. Thank you.
Be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, he really should. Next speaker. Thank you.
All you need.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Ali, President Alvarez, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I spoke last April, and I came here again, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you today again. And I come before you with a heavy heart that we're still going on the same issues. My family faces regarding my child who has a disability in our school board. Over these past few months, my family has faced a distressing inconsistency in the information provided by the school regarding my child's IEP and related services, a matter of utmost importance for students like my child. Various staff members have presented conflicting versions of the IEP, leaving us in a state of confusion and concern, a situation that affects not just my child, but we believe it's also with the kids that has disability and who depends these crucial plans. We believe that kids with an IEP, it's a lifeline for them. And it has to be diligently implemented. But in our case, there was different issues. And one of those is excluding him for most of the day from a regular classroom. Not even having an activities participated. And there's a constant rotation of team members attending my child's IEP meeting has been perplexing, further complicating the educational journey for children with disability. As of today, my child's educational journey derailed and emotional well-being in jeopardy. Where is our right as parents of children with disability to be informed and involved in decisions affecting our children's education and well-being when we just found out that he was away from other kids? We deserve transparency, collaboration, and assurance that our children's educational and emotional needs, especially with kids that have disability, needs to be met effectively and inclusively. So we request board to address this concern with utmost seriousness, recognizing the unique challenges of these children facing these difficulties, because until now, my child couldn't come back to school. And I am asking to please help us to address this concern. We evaluate the decision to limit educational opportunities for children with disabilities, ensuring they specifically get
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Victor.
you. Thank you so much.